and welcome to another edition of Girls Talk 9.0, where we talk about the movie pick of the week and occasionally the topic du jour. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about the 2002 uh, horror film 28 Days Later, directed by Dan Boyle, and the 2009 sequel, 28 Weeks Later, directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo. Hopefully I pronounced his name correctly. My name is Whaley Hallow. With me today, we have the notorious note taker, Nunya. And for the first time, we have the very lovely Lena. Welcome. Okay, so as usual, spoiler alert, we're going to talk about the beginning and the middle and the end of the movie. So if you haven't seen these movies, we still would like for you to hang around and enjoy the conversation or come back and see how your views compare to ours. So the first one is the 2002 28 Days Later. And basically it's about a bike carrier who's in a coma and wakes up to understand that a ravenous infection has eradicated pretty much most of the people in his city, except for those who could escape. And in his attempt to find other uninfected people, he embarks on a journey of survival. So we'll end it there as an overview. Nunya, why don't you go first?
Oh my goodness, why me? Um, Even though I have a lot of pieces of notes, I'm completely unorganized. I just took the notes and didn't have a chance to organize. But I will. Let me go to 28 Days Later. I this is my favorite. So this is the one that for me changed the whole zombie genre because it went from being and I'm not comparing this to 28 Weeks Later. I'm just saying in terms of previous zombie movies, for me it was like the best because it changed it from the undead, the slow walking, to now they're infected instead of undead, so they're infected, and so they move the way we move now. And so for me, it was like it was revolutionary to come and see this movie and seeing all those zombies moving so fast, and going back, it's still as jarring as it was then. I think you mentioned it came out in 2002. My Just from the opening scene of the God tier actor Killian Murphy's scene where he's wandering through the empty streets of London, it felt empty. It felt desolate. It felt like, oh no, something's going to happen, but I don't know what. I know it's not going to be a boogeyman, but it's not going to be good. And then, so that was, and then for him to not understand what's happening and to go to what we always think of as a place of refuge, which is the church, and that scene is jaw dropping. That scene where the priest is tweaking and comes at him, and his face is just, he's just blood popping out of his eyes and mouth, and he's twitching, and that was horrifying. And all the people lying, and then they all kind of hear him walk in and they sit up one at a time to look at him. And they chase him out. Like, can you imagine? Like, prior to this, this was not conceivable, is basically. So it was incredible. I thought the choice of at the time unknown actors is always a good idea because then you don't have to, there's no bias that comes into it. I thought that the Serena with the axe, she was something. She was something, but I'll leave that for later. I thought it was interesting, the whole concept of the infection, but we'll get to that later. Again, I feel like this was a game changer. I thought I really enjoyed the father-daughter relationship. I was so sad when he was infected, and another goated actor, Ray Winston, is amazing. I thought the infected in this movie. I think it's the first time we saw these type of, well, obviously they were running, but not only were they running, but their body movements were very jagged and jarring. I use the word jarring already, but very jagged. And I thought that added to the fact that it almost seemed as if the infected were in a panic. I know they were supposed to be ragey, but it was almost a ragey panic. Like they seemed chaotic. They seemed
Jittery, just very jittery.
jittery, confused.
Yeah,
They seemed tormented almost, and I thought that was amazing.
yeah,
The one thing,
yeah.
sorry, the one thing I didn't necessarily love. There's a couple things I didn't love about 28 Days. The one thing I wasn't really so sure about was the whole dress up party at the military compound. I was like, yeah, it's quite kind of convenient, but whatever. So overall, um, amazing movie. I absolutely love it. I love what's his name? The director
Danny
you see,
Boyle? Danny
Boyle,
Boyle?
Danny Boyle. I love what he did for the whole zombie genre, and I think it's always going to be for me on my list of the greatest of all time. So that's where I'll end it for that.
Yeah, I'll go next. I 100% agree. I felt like in this movie, and you're right, it was a game changer because before you had a chance to get away. At this level with these zombies, they were marathon runners. Like there's no chance of you really surviving. It was really the survival of the fittest. You really had to be on your A game. And I know the character Selena had an attitude, but I feel like that was what it took for her to survive, right? Jim, the guy who was in the coma, had just come out of, so he didn't understand. He was, 12 hours into it. Selena was 28 days into it. So I believe that, she had learned that this
Oh,
is what it
good
takes to
point.
survive. Like you cannot be soft. You cannot, there are no second chances. Everybody she has known has died. She probably seen them die. And so it was almost like a fear that was instilled in her that kept her alive. And so I did understand her, the way she came across was, pretty crass. But as you see towards the end, she was really holding a lot in because she didn't want Hannah, the young girl, to have to experience what she experienced to get her to that bitter point in her life. So, I mean, I thought it was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved this. I loved the father. I also was so sad when he was infected. I mean, I think they almost had to do that to kind of keep us there because I don't know what his role would have been had he gone to the military base. But I was just so sad because I really wanted him to survive. He was such a lovely person. And I do agree, the dress up thing, I could have left that out. But I do understand, the call was so that they could kind of procreate and recreate, a new generation of people because these military folks felt like, this was the end and we want to keep civilization going. And the only way to do it is with, men and women. So that's why I believe, their call was for the women and they got those two there and they tried to dress them up for whatever reason, I'm not sure. And the other thing is with the guy that they had in the courtyard, the one that they wanted to see how long it would take for the infected to happen. I mean, he was so scary. Like to your point, he was so jittery. It was just so like, what's happening? What's going on? Am I sick? Like it was just so, I don't, it was just so scary. I literally, and I've seen this, I mean, anybody who knows me knows I probably watch this like every other month because this and the next one are probably my two favorites because the more I see it, the more I know I'm screwed. I'm just not going to make it because I can't run that fast. So it's just really, really scary for me. So, but I absolutely loved it. I agree. We can dig in deeper later, but I'm going to end it there.
I'll go.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to be very shocked, but I do not like this movie. It is my least favorite of the two. I understand where you guys are coming from. Yeah,
And that's what
yeah,
the least favorite of the two. But if we weren't comparing them, would you still like the movie?
no. Yeah, no, it's something about the movie for me. Even the scenes, like the cinematic scenes that they were doing, like when they were in that field and it turned into like a painting, it was just very interesting how they were shooting the movie. But I also think it's very weird when you say the word zombie because technically these aren't really your standard zombies. So you're
Right.
saying he's revolutionizing it, but it's really, they're not zombies because they're not eating people. So they're infected with rage, but they're not zombies because if you notice, they didn't eat a single person. They were just kind of spreading it and moving on and running to the next thing.
Yes.
Which is why probably they could run because the other zombies are eating your legs, your arms. So how are you running with one leg? I thought it was very interesting how they just chose to shoot a lot of the scenes. I don't know. I don't know if it was the angles or just, I think I had to also remember that this is a British movie and their sense of, you know, they film things a little bit different where I felt it was a little bit slower, which made it seem more realistic in the sense of like, okay, this is probably how it would actually be if things were to happen very slow. Not much is really going to be happening, but it it just wasn't my favorite. But I see where you guys are coming from. Great cast, great casting. They go on to do some amazing things. So it was very interesting to watch it back again and go, oh my God, I forgot he was in this. Like, wow, he's
Idris.
truly an amazing, all of them, honestly, a lot of them. Um, great. I was also very sad how the father Pat or died. I think that they shot him a little one too many times in front of the daughter, which I was like, that's so harsh. And I feel bad to get all that way for a drop to fall in your eye. Like, that's just
Yeah.
evil. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I just feel like if I knew that all these things were there, I would be a little bit more protected. Where why would I? I don't know. I just feel like I would have more than what they had going into this. Like you ransacked a store, but you didn't get like your basic skill things. I don't know. It was just very interesting. And then when he got out of the hospital and I don't know if you want me to dive too deep in, but when they blew up the gas station and killed two zombies, you wasted all that for two? Like it just seemed very interesting. Was is it better than some? Yes. Was it my favorite? No. Unfortunately not. No.
All right. Well, that's interesting. Well, let's dig in. Let's talk
Yep.
about the opening scene, right? They were
Hmm.
infected by rage. I mean, I thought they could have come up with a better name, but rage is actually the way they were acting, right?
Mm,
But just the beginning scene, you have these I don't know what they are, probably activists going into this laboratory wanting to free the monkeys. And
mhm.
honestly, even if I'm an activist, I think if the lab technician says, they're infected.
Thank
I mean,
you.
that's all I need. I'm not going to
Yeah.
try to be the hero at that point. At that point,
Right.
okay, they're infected. I'll take my pictures in jet. But
Yeah.
these people wanted to be extra.
Right. And save them. But it
They
seemed
just
like
kind
they
of
had no
allowed it to
skills.
happen. Hmm?
It seemed like they had no skills with it. So it's like it would be like me going in thinking I could tame a monkey. Like it would be like, why would I even reach my arm in? I would have something to capture them if I was really going to let them out. He just like opened it and was like, give me a hug. And what did they expect? Very
I mean, I
interesting.
think, I think that I don't think people ever think about the consequences, right? That's just like the people who get too close to pictures with, you know,
That's true.
moose and lions and just dumb crap, right? They just don't
Yeah.
even think about the consequences. I think these people were just like, they're animals, they deserve to be set free, and they just really didn't.
Mm,
They had no plan. They snuck in the middle of the night, and
right.
when the guy literally said they're infected, don't open the cage, they just didn't heed anything he said. And then of course
Mm,
the thing about this is, right, to your point, right, they're not like eating them, they're just infecting them and moving on. And it happens so quickly. Like before, it would take maybe you had,
3
20
business
minutes, an
days.
hour. This one, you had what, 12 seconds before you
Hmm.
had to react? I
Yeah.
mean, literally, I would probably, anybody who jittered, I would probably be hacking, whether they infected or not, because you're thinking 12 seconds, are they infected? You don't even want to think about that. You're just like, it's survival mode and you're just swinging, your hatchet or whatever you have in your hand. That's basically all you're going to be doing the whole time. So
Mm.
yeah, it's it was definitely interesting, the opening.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Well, I agree with everything you guys said initially before I had to walk away about the opening. I think that was the point, though, is that you have all these well-meaning, but basically,
Informed.
or just yeah, misinformed, ignorant activists
Yep.
who they want to do well, but they just don't know what they're dealing with. I
Right.
would also
Right.
say though that it kind of there was a element of, if you know you are working on this level of a virus, your security needs to be through the roof. There's activists should have no way of ever getting
Right.
close to a monkey cage. If they got to the monkey cage, they shouldn't have been able to open it.
Right.
Thought the more interesting part. So, but I'm willing. You know, I've watched enough movies. People are stupid. We know that for a fact
Yep.
now.
Yep.
And so that is 100% plausible that people would do exactly that.
Yep.
We three of us wouldn't do it, but the average dummy would. But I will say what to me was very interesting was the whole idea of you know, that we have a gene that is specific to rage, and them trying to develop an inhibitor so that we
Right.
won't be rageful, but
Right.
instead it backfires and it
Right.
causes rage to take over. And the way that they did that, or the way that they focused or identified the rage gene, was by forcing these chimpanzees to
I
watch
know.
violence. So
Right.
it was really, to me, a broader commentary about
Yeah,
society,
it's true.
how all of this, how we're all becoming very toxic. And to me, what was so amazing about going back and looking at it was 20 years later, pre-COVID, you know, all the political fallout and all the craziness, how accurate it was of a what's the word? To me, it felt like an accurate projection of what could be the possible future.
Right.
Like I know I am hella more angry than I was 5 years ago. And I would say across the board, everyone is. I've never seen this level of anger. So I could easily see, you know, a couple more COVIDs and a couple more elections, and yeah, we're going to be rabid.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the stupid people exist. We see them. They sit in front of trucks on highways. They throw paint at people wearing fur. These motherfuckers are stupid. They're lucky they've been shot. But to me, that's realistic, because they are, you know, a lot of them are dumb.
Yep. Yep.
The
We
other
were
thing,
talking about how quick the infection spreads too. Like you just have like 12 seconds before you may have had, you know, 12 hours or 20 minutes or 2 hours. But now it's just like you have to be on your toes. Like you literally don't have time to think about whether or not what you're about to do is the right thing. You just do it.
I 100% agree. I was going to also mention the because there is a lot of debate about the term zombie. But I was watching George Romero, who was the inventor of this whole genre, right? He did the Night of the Living Dead. And the term zombie wasn't even used then. That the term zombie came up later. He called them ghouls. They were ghouls. They came from the graveyard. They were the undead. And so they were ghouls for like the first decade or two. I don't know where the term zombie came on, but I think, you know, they make it very clear that this is no longer the undead coming back to life, but infection. So I think that they're kind of, and I think I'm okay with labeling them whatever they want to label them. And I think it's become, because I think right now there's a blur, right? You go see Train to Busan, whether they call them infected zombies, it's all really considered the same. You can call them ghouls, you can call them whatever. The Walking Dead, call them whatever you want, but we're all talking about humans that are humans but not behaving human-like. I also agree about the speed when Whaley said the old zombie. I'm going to use them interchangeably, so I'm just going to apologize in advance. But zombie movies, you said they always had a chance to get away, and I would say not only did you have a chance to get away, you had an obligation to get away. How can you not outwalk somebody? Like, you don't even have to run. You can outwalk them. You can skip. You could do, you know, you could do. So I'm like, this was getting chased by Usain Bolt. First of all, whoever
Exactly.
have ever run fast through a field, you are falling over. So how those people, you know, especially a hilly field, oh, I have been catapulted so many times. Running and you're fast, and then you hit a dip, and all of a sudden your ankle's gone. So
Yeah.
I think it was completely a game changer. What I thought was really interesting was the what you mentioned about the military having this mandate to procreate. That, and I wanted to get into the military later because I think there's an interesting contrast between the military and 28 days later and in 28 weeks later. But my thing is, after 28 days, do you really need to procreate? It's
Yeah.
been a month. You, yeah, what are you doing? Like it's and all these pregnant women, why are you procreating? So I didn't believe a minute of that. I thought they were just acting weird. But what's interesting is that in 28 weeks later, I felt like they portrayed, well, they definitely made it very clear that the hospital had no cure. You know, the church was not going to be your salvation, and the military was not going to be your heroes. Contrast that to 28 months later, suddenly the US flag is everywhere, and we're in London, we've taken over, and lo and behold, there always has to be the heroic military person. So I don't know if
Mhm.
you guys had any thoughts about the contrast between it being a London thing initially, then suddenly the US shows up and we have to have a hero. But I liked the fact that the military was portrayed poorly in the first one because I think that, you know, we're all human and people aren't gonna, some people are gonna rise to the level and, you know, elevate themselves to help in a situation, in a rough situation. And we already see other people go the opposite direction and make things worse. So
Right,
anyway.
and I would agree. I mean, they're just human. They can wear the military uniform, but they're just human. And for all we know, they might not even have been military, right? Those people would not have known that, right? There was no
True.
way of them really actually knowing that, other than they're at this barracks or this building that they have, you know,
I
uh,
mean, there's reason
went
to
to.
assume that they are because they're also wearing the military stuff and they're talking military talk and they're, you know, got military
Yeah,
arms. But
yeah,
I agree,
but you know,
it's in 28 days, there's probably somebody who already figured out how to impersonate a military person.
exactly, exactly,
Um,
exactly. And
but I
oh, go ahead.
no, no. I don't know. Did anybody notice? We'll talk about, we'll compare the two later, I guess. We'll
Yeah, well,
just
let's compare the two later, but let's just, yeah,
yes.
kind of focus on. So I wanted to talk about, them going to, and it's, it's very interesting. Jim was the guy's name that was the bike carrier, Korea. And he was, it's so funny because, you want to think that he was coming out of this, like just being really dumb. Like who goes out into the street and yells, hello, hello,
Yeah,
right? Honestly, if I didn't see
I'm
anybody,
not.
I'm not calling out. But he's maybe that's what they do in London. I don't know. He's friendly, and he doesn't really understand what's going on, and he's probably still a little drugged. Maybe maybe there's a lot of that going on, and he's confused. But once you see that wall, the evacuation wall, all those people gone, it says evacuation has occurred, and you're still yelling, hello, hello. I think he was desperate, right? So I'm even going to give him that. And then when he got to meet Selena, and I can't for the life of me think of the other guy's
It
name
was
that was
Mark.
there. What's his name?
Mark.
Mark. When he meets Selena and Mark in the, I don't know, were they in a store? Looks like a store or something. And he's like, what is going on? What is going on? Where's my family? And they're just like, look, everybody's dead. And I'm sure it was hard for him to understand that for the longest time. And then you see this transformation, right? As he starts seeing, okay, this crap is real, where he goes in and he kills that poor kid. I mean, the kid was infected. I would have done the same, but that's when there was a turning point for him, right? Just his whole demeanor changed. And he was like, okay, this shit is real. I can see where Selena was coming from now because, there's no opportunity. These things just want to infect you, period. And it's just sad that, his whole demeanor had to change, right? To kind of be able to survive.
Mm-hmm,
I thought
mm-hmm.
that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sorry. Go ahead, Selena.
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't understand how he got left in the hospital. Like I was even thinking that, like you're trying to tell me he's the only one in that hospital that got left there and they left him there naked. Like just a lot of it was just weird. Like what they had there, nobody's just laying there naked. Like it was just weird. I don't
I,
know.
I
I
agree.
just feel like he would have it like I understand there's probably other patients, maybe he was in a coma
It
and he
was.
woke up. Okay, so you're trying to tell me there's nobody else in that hospital that was in a coma, but that didn't attract them at all? Like with them ransacking the hospital didn't even look like it had been like anyone was there. And you don't think that a place full of people full of rage aren't going to bully through that hospital? There was no blood. Like it was just very clean.
In
Where
the
I'm like,
hospital, it was
okay,
clean. Now
The
that you
hos-
say that,
that's
yeah.
it was
weird.
very clean.
I I think the way that I understood that opening scene, and I felt like I can't say if I know if it's believable because I don't know that I would. I don't know how I would react in that situation. I personally would be calling out to people. Having, I'm talking about in 2020 when this movie came out, prior to what we all know. Having, if I had never seen any, all we know are the undead, I absolutely would have come. I mean, that's what I would do now. If I walked outside and I didn't see anybody, I would be knocking on my neighbors' doors. I'd be calling for them.
Mhm.
I think it would be weird to be walking around not saying anything because you're like, somebody's out there and he has no idea to think there's an infection. He knows there's an evacuation, but there could be evacuations for many reasons. He doesn't know there's an infection until he sees the newspaper article, right?
Right.
At
Right.
that
When
point,
he sees the wall.
he doesn't
Right.
know this. But what I was going to say about the hospital is you're assuming that the zombies weren't tearing through the hospital. I could also imagine a scenario where the hospital got an alert and everybody dropped what they were doing and went running, right? And so maybe the carnage happened outside. And I
Yeah.
absolutely believe at any given moment, if you shut off all the electricity in the hospital, somebody's naked in the bed somewhere. 100. Because I thought that was made it so vulnerable too, is that he's running around with that, the thing opening in the
Yeah.
back.
Mm.
Yeah.
You ever one those for 1 second, you already feel vulnerable. You're like, ooh, 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 I can't.
Yeah.
Can I
Agreed.
go in the front? No, we want it in the back. No, I'm better in the front.
Right.
You know, my
I can't
physicals,
tie it in the back. That's so dumb.
I can't hold it like this in the back. My arms don't reach. But I would agree that there has to be an element of off to bring us in, right? So it can't be, you know, I don't know how to, I think I said my point, but I think it's plausible, the opening of that movie.
I would
And
agree.
the fact that we don't see other people doesn't mean other people didn't stroll out of that hospital a week later, right? Or a day
Agreed.
later, maybe they
Yeah.
finished, maybe they came out of
Mhm.
surgery, they wandered out.
Yeah.
But I think carnage clearly happened elsewhere.
Mm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But I want to go back to the church scene. Boy, was that scary. I want to say, when and again, he's still hello. But when he said hello and the first head popped up, he was a little taken aback. At that point, I would have taken off because nothing about that person looked sane or real, or you know what I mean? But he
Mm.
just like, Father, Father, like, no, you can see the father's doing the crip walk, run. Like, what are you
I'm
doing?
calling you out on this one. I'm calling you out on this one. Let's be honest. Okay, I'm not gonna call you out. I'm gonna call myself out on this. If I woke up from a coma, first things first, if I can't reach for my glasses, I can't see anything. So if
Yep.
I walk to church and people, I don't know what they're doing. So I'm not running because at this point, unless like the face isn't gonna do it because I can't see their faces,
No, but
right?
they jumped up like, they jumped up like you said, kind of jerky. And then the other
But
one jumps up. Well, first of all,
I,
why are they all looking dead on the floor? I mean,
Right? That would have
I,
been the first thing.
that was the first.
yeah.
Sure, but it could be that they were hiding. I mean, think of a military invasion, right? And or even if I hate to say a shooting, but people do lie on
That's
the.
true.
Yeah,
So it's
they do. They do. And that's what, but once you said hello and they jumped up like that, and then the other one jumps up.
but could you even see like how come on? I don't know that I could see that. I would see people jump up, but I wouldn't be able to see if their faces look distorted because I wouldn't be able to see that 20 feet away, let alone 50 feet away. Does that make sense?
Yes, but I'm Jim and I have his eyesight and he didn't look like he was wearing glasses. So he saw it. So I'm playing the role of him.
Fair
I
point.
would still I would still be in the hospital trying to find my glasses, to your point. But
I'd be up. I'd be backing up. But at this point, I might be willing to see, okay, maybe that person's having a seizure, maybe that person, I don't know. But the priest did it for me. And that priest was scary as can be. I loved it.
yeah. And then so they go to his house, right? And
Mhm.
Selena's like, look, regardless of what's happening. I know those are your family, but if they're infected, you got to do what you got to do. And of course, he goes in. I felt bad that his family was, deceased, but I guess the good thing is they took their own lives. And then they say, okay, well, let's camp here. And he decides to watch. Now, I don't understand. Again, he's probably still in a fog, but he's sitting down there, lights a candle, and starts watching videos when he knows sound is what wakes these things up. But he decides he wants to watch videos until his neighbor jumps through the window and attacks him and
Mm,
forces Selena to kill Mark.
yeah. Which
You know what I
she
mean?
waited no time for that.
No, because she
I
knew.
thought she was cutting his arm off.
At first, I thought she was too, but she was like, I don't know
Kept
where this is
going.
headed to.
Mm.
And I think she just got caught up in the moment, you know?
I mean,
But
I
yeah,
think
it's
it's
beautiful stuff.
credit well. She had been dealing with it for 28 days. This was his day one.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think by I'm gonna guess by Lena's day two, by half day, by the afternoon of the first day,
That's it.
all,
Everything is fair game.
like
Yep.
all coming out stabbing. I was wishing we give
Mhm.
the people at the church the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they had passes and I don't know, but y'all are like day
Well, because
one.
once I left the church, I would have had something. Like, it's just weird that he left with a bag. I
Well,
would have
his
been like,
food.
no, I need, yeah, but I mean, like a bag with no weapon. Like, yeah, I'm going to take some food, but I'm also grabbing a pole, like just something, a stick. Especially if I see no one
Oh
outside,
dear.
I'm
Yeah.
automatically like, oh,
Yeah.
this is really weird. I'm not
Yep.
going to walk down the middle
Exactly.
of the street. I'm going to walk like on the outskirts just in case I need to like, I'm not, he just, I don't know. And I'm not yelling. I'm keeping my mouth shut and I will if I see someone, I might yell out for that first time to like see, oh, okay, they turned weird. I'm never talking again type of thing. But I'm not just gonna openly be, especially once I found the people, like they just kept yelling. And
Mhm.
even when she was hacking him up, I understand you get in the moment and you're probably like, ah, but I'm not. I'm silently hacking him up because he just jumped through a window. Like, there's and if I need to, I will tape my mouth shut. Like I'm not making noise. And I would have probably hit him if he made noise too. Like they were just so loud. They picked the loudest car. Like just everything about it just seemed loud.
I think that was intentional. I mean, obviously they didn't have any choice
Mm,
automobiles they were picking, but I think it was
right.
contrast, the eeriness,
Right.
Yeah.
quietness.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
agree.
then so then they make their way to Frank and Hannah's house, right? They find these
Hmm.
carriages and they kind of crawl their way. I think they crawled their way up the carriages and got inside somehow and started going up the steps, right?
Mm,
And then Jim starts to crash. And then that's when you first saw a little bit of not Hannah, Selena's sensitivity when she says, well, why didn't you just tell me you were tired? He was like, because I know you don't really care. But she said, okay, well, you can have the sugar and pills. That's all we have. So I'm gonna, give you pills to calm you down, then give you sugar to pump you back up. And then all of a sudden, here comes the undead, the infected, and they are making those steps 2 and 3 at a time. And I'm sorry, Jim, but if you can't make it, don't be calling my name. Wait,
mm.
Selena,
Right. He was
wait,
screaming it. I'm like, you're
Selena,
just getting more
wait.
there.
Hello. I mean, that's his job. Like it was to make noise, but yeah, don't call me because I'm not waiting on you. I mean, you gotta. I know you just got out of the hospital. I know you got a headache, but it's you or them. So it's up to you to keep up. And I don't think she did wait. I think he realized that this is not a joke. Just keep running.
Mm,
And then he ran
mhm,
into Frank. I was trying to figure out because it seemed like he had a barricade there, and I don't know how Frank made the barricade, but it seems like he had a barricade between the steps and their hallway to get to their house. And he taught Hannah well. She was not opening the door. He's like, uh-uh. So she learned her lesson well, which is good. But I'm glad that they all met because then they had to come up with this plan. And do you think that they were better off without Hannah and Frank? Because that was Selena's, they're just going to slow us down. do you believe they actually would have been better off without them?
I mean, resource-wise, I think no, because Frank and Hannah had a lot of resources that they didn't have. But I think based off of like her skill, I think they would have made it far, but I think it helped that they had a car.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it could have gone either way. I think Serena, what is her name? Serena or Selena?
Selena.
Selena's
Selena.
concern, I think, was that um their emotional connection to each other would eventually be a problem. And that's why I think
Mm.
she bypassed that. And so I think, that was her impression of it. And it probably, again, based on the fact that she had been out there for a very long time, was probably possible. And she was alone. And so she had already lost all her loved ones. So she's like, I'm not going to travel with somebody who will always pick that person over the group. I think that was kind of sweet.
Mm.
I could understand either way.
Yeah. It's a good point. That's a good
Hmm.
point. So would you guys have gone through the tunnel or would you have gone the long way around?
That scene, first off, the car's not going up that pile. Um, I I I might go the long way. I don't know. Something about tunnels just
Long way,
never.
a long way.
Yeah, especially if I went in and I already had to do like an S turn, I'm not going in because you can't back out of that real
No,
fast. Like,
no.
no. And with the tire, come on. You're trying to tell me they changed a flat tire in under how many minutes with a kid did it? I couldn't even get the lug nut off of mine. And she could pop it off, twist four of them
I
off.
literally had to buy a tool.
Yeah, and then it was able to put it back on and twist four of them back on. No, there's no way. But I mean, I understand they had to get out of it. But either what I would have put two on and just gone and then put the other two on like down the road, maybe, or just ran on the flat. Like, come on.
I wouldn't have gone in the tunnel.
Yeah, no.
Tunnel. I would have gone around. I don't care if it take me 8 days. What else are you doing with your
Hmm.
time?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Your time.
Yep.
Put the radio on and keep it moving.
Keep
There's
it
no,
Yep.
moving.
I wouldn't go into a tunnel if there wasn't an outbreak. If somebody's just, oh, they're rioting downtown. I'm not going through a tunnel. That's the last I want to go.
True.
That's the last place you want to be. It looked
Yeah.
Yep.
really dark. No,
It
let's not
did.
go through the tunnel.
It did. Barricaded for a reason.
Exactly.
do not
Exactly.
do not enter sign was clear.
Right. Right. Yep.
Exactly. That
Yep.
was
And then
close.
with
That
the
was pretty
rats
scary.
too.
Oh
Like
my
that.
God.
But it's very interesting how only rats, like that we didn't see any other like animals kind of fleeing from the scene. Well, I say fleeing, but I guess in London, what other animals are there? But it was just interesting to see like all the rat. I don't know. Ugh. Yeah, I would
I
have
mean,
taken
that's,
that as a sign though, real fast.
oh yeah. Yeah, rats, I
Happened
mean,
right
we know that that's what happens, right? They just
Hmm.
so that
vacate.
There's no way.
way floods, rats are flying out of it. Like it doesn't take anything for rats to flee, which is why
No, they're like, I'm out.
they've been here since the Stone Age for that exact reason. They don't.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, very interesting. I was a
Exactly.
little bit shocked that they weren't I guess a carrier. Like for some, I don't know why I thought when Hannah was underneath the car that I don't know, she would have gotten like bit by a rat or
Mm,
something.
mm.
But I guess they were just trying to flee. I guess they didn't really care that she was in their way. They were just running over her. But that was interesting. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess maybe they've been running away and none of them have been infected. I don't know. But I feel like rats eat anything. So,
Rage might only be since it was an isolated gene in humans. It may not even,
mm,
may not have been transferable from human to rat. I don't know. I don't
yeah.
think rats are angry though.
And I don't think in general the rats were like hungry. I mean, they just wanted to get out. They knew something was coming, and I
Mm,
think they were just, running. I don't think they were trying to look for a meal or who knows what the
right.
rats were doing, but that was my take. They were just trying to get out.
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
They started looking for food. But then they get out and they go to the supermarket.
hmm.
I thought it was interesting that he left his credit card.
I thought it was
They were like,
interesting that the supermarket had stuff in it.
And it was bright lit. I mean, I don't know. I guess there was still power, right? It's only been
Yeah,
20, to
28, yeah.
Nunya's
And they
point, it's
showed
only
the
been
sun,
28 days.
yeah,
So there was
the
still
panel.
power, but they literally went in there and I mean, I would have gotten, he got alcohol. I would have gotten so much stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I,
I will say that I think there's an element of that that is us looking at it from an American perspective. Because my first reaction was the same thing. If they say there's a snowstorm 2 weeks from now, there's no food on the next day. They said even the people who quote didn't
yep,
believe COVID were buying 8 months worth of
yep,
toilet. So I don't think if that was in the US, yeah, those shelves would have been bare. But I think other
Mm-hmm.
empty,
countries have
empty.
proven that they are far more restrained and respectful of, other people's stuff than we are.
Yep.
So
That's
I
true.
surprised. And also, again, I think that you have to I just don't know, like, it would be cool as a prequel, like a really slow kind of, not a prequel, but a movie that kind of fills us in on those first 28 days instead of 28 days later. Like what happened those first 28 days. And then it
Right.
might make sense why things were abandoned and, things like that. But I'm
Yeah.
getting ahead. So.
But you say that when they were showing the monkeys, the movies, I thought that was the quote prequel. I was thinking, oh, that's, what I mean? Because when you first see the movie, you see the monkey watching. I was like, oh, maybe that's what's happening or will happen. It's like,
Well, that was what happened. But then they jumped from that scene to 28 days later. I'm saying I would have loved to have seen after the monkeys,
Day one.
day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6.
right, right.
All, yeah. Oh, is that what you were saying?
Yeah, it kind of looked like what he was watching on TV. It kind of looked like what could have happened in those days, which we know it didn't,
Mm.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it kind of almost seemed like that is what could have happened.
True, 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 true. Do we want to move on to 28 months later?
No, let's move
Oh,
on to
okay.
the military barracks, right? We haven't even gotten there yet because,
Oh,
right, we're just the I don't know, the courtyard or wherever
Oh
they are, and
no.
then they make it to the military barracks where, poor Frank, he gets
His
there's a
demise.
crow eating on one of the deceased, and he gets that person's blood in his eye, and he turns quick. And again, Selena was like, kill him. And Jim was not really sure, although I think eventually he would have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they just shot him like nobody's business. But
Yep.
again, I think those military guys, they were obviously afraid. Most of them weren't really that well trained. I mean, so they probably would have, that's what they're used to, just kill, 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 which is what they did. And then they brought him to this house.
their orders were.
Hmm?
I'm sure their orders were to kill on sight as well.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, probably,
Yeah.
probably.
Otherwise, why are they there? To wave to me? You better be killing
Right.
the. Hello.
Yeah. And then I was trying to figure out
Give
where
me
did
your
the food
guy.
come from? Like, where did the eggs come from? I really didn't see a chicken, although there probably were tons of chickens out there. Like they had eggs and I don't potatoes. I'm just thinking, I mean, I guess they don't have to explain to me where it came from, but it just seemed like where did that? Unless they stole the grocery, no, because they didn't get vegetables. All the vegetables were bad. So I don't know where the food came from,
I
but
mean, they're probably assuming if they went up, if you think about the map of the UK, they're in like the rural areas, so they probably went through farmland.
oh, probably,
It
probably.
looked pretty wooded and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know
I
about that.
will say though, when they got to the point where, they kicked Jim and the other guy who protested about, them about to rape these girls, you know, they took them out to the field to shoot them, right? And I don't know, the one guy, I don't even know what he shot. Did he actually shoot the guy? It happened so quickly. I wasn't even sure if he actually shot the guy, but I know Jim fell amongst the dead and then he took off, but I couldn't remember what happened to the other guy. I don't remember if he actually they shot the other guy. But we know Jim took off and he ran over, jumped over the wall and somehow got out of his restraints. And then the scene, and I think to Lena's point about the visuals, when he is cranking the sound, right? It's supposed to be raining, but it almost looks like static on a TV, right? It's just very it looks almost like snow and static. It doesn't look like rain at all, like because the pieces are like 3 inches long. You know what I mean? When he's cranking that up. But I think, that was probably part of the effect that they wanted to us to see. I don't know. but I thought
It
that was, hmm?
It was. I read an article I read an interview with
Yep,
Danny,
yep.
and he purposely filmed the movie on I don't know
Mhm.
the correct term is antique camera, but it was not a modern camera. He
Yep,
You
filmed
could
it,
yep,
tell.
yeah, and it was intentional. It was
yep,
meant, it's, again,
yep.
to create a mood, and it worked.
It worked. Oh my God, did it work? Did it work? And then, of course, he came back for revenge. And then I thought when Hannah was on the pills, right? I thought she was like just high or drowsy. And she ran. I didn't realize she was going to find her picture of her and her dad. I think it was a picture of her and her dad, because then she stood there and she actually held up the mirror when the
Hmm.
infected came in the room. And I was thinking, how could she do that? But then I realized maybe she really wasn't as drugged as I thought she was, because when she went, walking down the corridor, I thought, oh my God, she's in for it. She's done. She's just wandering. But she
Mm.
was actually had an intention, which I didn't even realize until then.
Mm.
But her dad was smart. Her dad
Oh
was
yeah.
smart. Okay.
Yep, he taught her well. He taught her well.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then so I thought, and I meant to go back and look. I thought there were two endings to 28 Days Later, right? I thought I had seen that somewhere, but I'd never had the opportunity to go back and look. But we know that he ends up in the hospital. Well, I don't know where he was actually. It seemed like he
Yeah.
was in the hospital,
I think
but
they transported him after to like a little cottage.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, but from where? Oh, they went from the barracks to the cottage.
Well,
Oh, okay.
after he got shot,
Right.
they brought him to like, it looked like a hospital for when he woke
Yeah.
up. And then when he closed his eyes and woke up again, he was in like a bedroom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I
So
don't know
maybe
what
they,
was in
yeah, I
between
don't know
there,
what they
but
did. Unless it was
yeah.
like the medical part of the barracks and then they brought him somewhere else.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Very
you're right. He
interesting
taught
that he
Hannah well.
survived it though. I mean,
The
you have
gunshot
a
wound.
girl, two girls who, if you said fix it, I would probably pull the bullet out and sew it up and hope for the best. It's very interesting that he survived,
Well,
but I mean, I'm
Selena did
happy.
say that she was a medical technician or something. Remember in the beginning, she said, I trained to do something in the very, very beginning, something to have to do with something in the medical field or the pharmacy or something. She
Mm,
explained that in the very beginning when he was introduced to Mark and Selena.
hmm,
Yeah, so I guess that's probably why maybe she had more knowledge than your average
yeah,
person.
yeah. And even the sign that they held up to be found, like, why,
Hello.
right? Why hello? You picked so many
Because that's
letters.
all he knows. That's his word. That's his word of the day.
SOS, that's three letters. Honestly, if I drove by and saw any letter, I probably would be like, oh, there's people there.
And you could see them anyway. I mean, they
Uh,
stood
You,
in the right spot.
I don't know about that. If I drove, if I Well, it depends. I guess it depends on what the sign looked like, but yeah, I guess it depends on where you are.
But I mean, I think they were looking for people.
right in an
So I
open
think they would
field.
have, you know,
Fair, fair, fair enough, fair enough.
But that
yeah.
plane was also going very fast. I'm like, that's not where are they landing to get you? Like, what, that
Yeah.
was like a fighter jet. Like, who's coming to save you on that? Where are they landing? In the field? And how are they taking off after? But I mean, I guess we don't really know what happened in the end.
All right.
Correct.
Yeah, so that brings us to the end of the movie. Do we want to score this one and then move on to the next one?
Out of
Uh,
how many?
Okay. I'll go first. I'm definitely going to give this, I'm going to give it, we typically give half scores, but I'm going to give it a 4.9
I'm sorry, out of 5 or 10?
out of 5.
Out of 5. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give it a 4.9. I'm just gonna take that 1/10 of a point away for some of those incidentals that we kind of talked about. But honestly, this is definitely was a game changer, as Nunya said. It was it will always be one of my favorites, and I will continue to watch it regularly until I learn the dialogue. No.
yeah, I would give it 5. It is not perfect, but no movie is, and so there would be no fives if I had the bar all the way up there. But I thought in terms of what it accomplished, it was great. Were people acting stupid and maybe irrational at times? Yes, but the horror genre is built on people's stupidity, and I think people were smarter than normal. And I just felt like the whole scenario was was believable, far more believable than people coming out of graves in a from a cemetery. So I kudos to Danny for really just remaking the whole genre. And again, the acting was just so spectacular. For me, it was a 5.
Okay.
I'd probably give it like a 3.5.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I only rewatched it for this, but I probably would never watch it again. But
Okay.
I get where you guys are coming from because the number would have been a lot lower before this. It wasn't the worst movie. It just wasn't my favorite. But
That's
I
fair.
see where you're coming from with, what it did, and I just
Yeah.
think that there are other movies that do a
Yeah.
little better.
That's fair.
All right. Yeah,
No,
that's a great scores. All right.
yeah.
So now on to the 2009 sequel. And so in the sequel, we find so there's this intercontinental agency that's working to kind of rebuild a safe place in London. And, so they're bringing groups of people in, and in one of the groups, they bring in two children. And, as children can sometimes, I should say children and a young adult, maybe you call a teenager, I don't know. But as it, typical as could be typical for people of that age, they kind of go against the
Wow.
protocol and they go outside of the quarantine, and they that activity reintroduces the mom into the safe place and unfortunately reintroduces the infection into that area, and of course it wreaks havoc. So the infection starts all over again. So before
Yeah.
we before we start, Nanya, you look frozen. Is it me or
You
oh,
see me
there
now?
you go.
My
There
battery
you
was
go.
dying. I had to run and get I had to run and get a charger. My battery was dying.
Okay, no worries. No worries. So we are back on the second one. So uh
You
Lady
are
Lena, why don't you I'm sorry?
I would love to go first.
Okay.
I love this movie. So I know you guys love the first one. I love the second one. I love everything about it. I I don't want to go into it too deep, but I think that the characters that they chose were very I thought it was very good. I liked that this one wasn't so, and I feel bad saying wasn't so old, but it felt like it took it a step where I could relate more to it. Where, yes, kids are gonna rebel, they're gonna escape real fast. The second you tell them don't go over here, they're gonna go over there, no matter what you say. I loved that they played on the whole take of having someone having a gene where you could just carry it. I thought that was very interesting. I liked all the different ways that they tried to contain the virus. I thought that that was very interesting because just I love the whole genre of this where the zombies are infected, all of that. I love thinking, okay, realistically, how could we contain it? I love that they had different ways of doing it, and it just goes to show that you really can't contain something like this. I like the characters that are in there. I thought they made some dumb choices as well. But I think overall, I liked this movie a lot more. I think it had a lot higher of a scare factor as well, where some of the scenes, it's just like, I pray that I'm never in that scenario. And I don't know how, but I think the zombies did get like slightly faster as well. I don't understand how it happened, but I did like how they tried to um make it family oriented, but at the same time in a morbid way on like having the dad like just pinpointing and being fixated on his children to find them. I feel like it had to do with the
Mm.
saliva that he got from his wife, where she wasn't really I mean, she was infected,
Oh,
but it was like
interesting.
a carrier mutated sense of infection where I think that it just like, I don't know, I think it shifted differently where he went full rage, where it wasn't even
Interesting.
like he was just crazy. He wasn't just bashing them. He was like you took my kid. I'm hunting you down. But then when he found his kids, it was very interesting. I don't know. I really like this movie a lot, and I can't wait to hear what you guys say about it.
I like
Okay.
the film as well. I love this.
Mm,
Um, I love this film. It's for the same reason, most of the same reasons I like the first film. It's part of a series and it makes sense. I like that it's evolution and progression. It should look different 28 weeks later than it did 28 days later. So it, looking at it from that lens, it is interesting, and when I cannot wait to see 28 years later. So I love this film. Again, I think the it captured that frenetic chaos that you would feel even 28 days later. There was a facade of it being somewhat organized, but you knew chaos could break out at any point,
Yep.
and it did. I would concur. It had one of my favorite scenes was when they were all caught up in that corridor and the lights went up. So,
yes.
this is for me, both of the films are amazing. I still like the continuation of the fact that the infected, there's no CGI. They are just blood popping out of anywhere, and they look scarier than CGI does. I love the same soundtrack, the fastness, the cinematography, the hopelessness to it. So I loved it as well.
I concur. I mean, I don't even know what I can add. I feel just as desperate in this movie as I did in the first one. I would not have survived this one because to I think Lena's point or whoever said they seem to be slightly faster. I think Nunya brought it up slightly in the beginning when we talked about the first one where, they're running down hills and they're not tumbling. I would have tumbled all the way to the lake. Like I don't know how else I would have made it there.
Yeah.
It's just
Maybe
been
that was
tumbling all the way.
maybe that's the strategy. Tuck and roll, tuck and roll.
Yeah, I mean, and I do agree. I do think the children would have done what I would have probably done the same thing too. Let's sneak off and get mom's picture. I don't even know if they were around to understand what happened because some
Mm,
people escaped, so they may not have seen the devastation up close. So they probably didn't realize how bad it had actually gotten and just had no conscious of what could potentially happen. So yeah, they went and they got a picture and they hung around the house for nostalgic
mhm.
reasons, I'm sure. And
Trampoline.
then they bring back the mom. Then I felt bad because the guy. Oh, let okay. I'm just very high level. I loved it. Let's just stop there. But I do
Yes,
want to
me
talk
too.
about the opening scene. Another
Yes.
fantastic opening scene.
Yep.
Oh my God. Would you
Yep.
have saved your wife and the child, or would you
No.
save yourself?
Unfortunately, I probably would have said, I mean, first off, I feel bad saying this because I do work with children and I love children. I wouldn't have saved that kid. I'm sorry. I don't know you. That's weird. And he was hiding great. He made it all the way there untouched. He probably would have done fine without me. I would have left. But at the same time, that mom could have bashed that window open real quick and probably gotten out. I unfortunately would have left. Well, I would have at least reached out for her, but I would have left her and I would have understood if the roles were reversed. Yes, I would be hurt, but I would understand that, yeah, I get it. Go. Yeah, there was five of them. What were you expecting? We have nothing. He looked like he was holding a candle. Like what are you doing? No.
You mean the little boy that? Which one?
The
The
dad.
man, when they were in
Yeah.
the room, they went in, he was holding like no weapons. So five of them, what do you want me to push him? Like I get it, go.
Yeah, I love the opening scene. I loved it. I loved it for, again, I think of the two as kind of being one as being a continuation of the first one. The first one is somebody walking out for the first time, seeing vacant streets. This one is people have already quarantined and now the threat is coming to them. And I thought it was a perfect uh, second opening for this film. I would absolutely not have tried to save my wife. In fact, I would have been mad at my wife and filed for divorce if she had the audacity to go make her own unilateral decision and then get mad at me because I'm not going down. I'm not down with it. It's like, you want to
Mhm.
see that way? Have at it. I'm not stopping
Thank
you.
you.
I though I'm exiting this way, I would have had no guilt. I would have. I don't know that I would have told my all the truth. Definitely would have just said, I couldn't save her.
Hmm. We got separated, and I'm not sure what happened. Boom.
Save her. There was zombies everywhere. It was chaotic. They should have
Yep.
understood that. This
Yep.
was 28 weeks later. So I didn't, that part aside, I think she got, but I will say it was kind of a reminder too, and it'll be interesting to see how the next movie's opening is, which is to never let your guard down. Again, that's why Selena did not want the man with the kids, because it tugs at heartstrings. Now, the three of us are probably the most cold-hearted women on the planet, but most people, you saw that, she opened up the door and she wanted to bring the boy in. I would have been like, not until we surveyed the entire surrounding. Eventually, he would have come in, but not immediately. And I definitely would not have saved the kids. But then when they get in the room, it's like, how do you not have a plan B? They could find you there. If they are breaking through, you needed to have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, a plan A plus B plus C. I just felt like they had one single plan. Oh my God, they broke in. Now what do we do? Run to the attic? No. You have to have multiple plans. So that part was kind of, I wanted to scream at them, but otherwise that scene was amazing.
It was amazing. And it was terrifying when he was being chased, right, towards the lake. I mean, you just look over the hill and you see, what seemed like hundreds of sprinters chasing you, and you haven't run in 10 years. You know what I mean? Like, if dread is not sitting in at that point, right? When was the last time you had to run like that? Never.
Never.
It's
Because we all British are as obese as Americans are. But the other interesting thing was there were no kids zombies in the second one like there was in the first. And I was thinking, is it because the kids couldn't keep up? Or like, when they were running down that hill to the boat, I know we all think we'd be faster. I think everybody would be far slower, because I've tried to like put my keys in the lock fast, and it takes longer. So you can imagine the hysteria of trying to get a boat running.
I can't, I would not have, I would have jumped right over the boat. I literally would have jumped into the water and hoped the boat caught up with me. Because the one thing I can do is dog paddle or swim. I can run down a hill, but I can swim away. And the zombies, we know they can't swim.
You can swim away. Okay.
Maybe at that point
Go
they
ahead and tread water.
swim, or did not they can swim.
I'm sorry?
I mean, they were walking in the water.
Yeah, but I think it was because they could walk in the water, but I don't know if they could actually swim.
They didn't show it.
Okay, because I was thinking the boat was slowing them down. Why didn't they, to Whaley's point, just jump in the water and swim? Because once the water got above the zombie's head, I can't imagine unless they can swim, they would have survived. But I didn't know if they were trying to imply to us that they could swim, and so the only way to get away was to get in the boat. Because the boat is so long, right? You get down to the dock, and the guy is taking the rope away, and I'm like, you don't have time for this. You had a 15-yard head start, which is all you're gonna get.
That's
I'm
it.
swimmer,
Pack
but
it.
10 yards into the water by then. So that's why I was like, maybe they can swim, and they felt they had to take the boat. The other thing I'm also thinking is, I don't know. I mean, most people tie their boats up because they don't want them floating away, or they don't want them stolen. I'm like, I have that boat on already. I would not, there would be no unwrapping 3 prongs. It would be
one.
And I'd had a pad on that boat, but just in case they do chase me, bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
Yeah, their lack of weapons was just very bizarre. Like, at least take the kitchen knife. Like, they were just running with nothing.
I don't think I could run with a big weapon though. Like
A knife,
a knife, yes, but at the rate they were chasing me, I would feel like I would have to take off everything just to gain some speed, like put some oil on, because
I would say this. I don't know that I would want to run around with a bunch of knives, but I do believe strategically you should have weapons in every location. Like a potential point of departure, have a rock or something right there on the dock.
Something. Just something. A lighter to light the rope, and you would have snapped the cord. Like, I just feel like if you brought the knife, I could have ran and hacked that rope right off and we
They
would have
had
both
no
made it.
communication. They were both trying to
No.
start the same motor. It's like, come
Mhm.
on, you
And
can go
like
find that.
realistically, I've never started a boat in my life. Like I would probably paddle first and then when I got away, try to start it. I
Exactly.
just like when I try to start a lawnmower, I don't get it right the first couple of times. So I wouldn't even try it. I would just
That's
paddle away
true.
and then maybe like in the middle of the ocean, then I'd be like, I don't know what I'm doing here.
I
I'm
tell you,
not
the
risking it.
fright on his face was so real.
Oh,
Like,
Yes.
oh
it
God,
really was.
it was
It
so
was.
real.
I mean, my chest was pounding, and like I said, I've seen it
Hmm.
times as well.
Yeah.
Um,
And
just
just the way he must have felt like, I
All those
know that's the
emotions.
end of it for my wife. And
Yep.
I couldn't do, and as a man, he probably felt like he wanted to do more, but he was
Yep.
afraid. We're all human. He was
Hmm.
like, I'm a man, but hey, like,
Mm.
I mean,
there,
Hmm.
I also have
he
to take
could
care
have
of
done.
myself.
I mean, his if he had gone back, there would have been three dead people
Correct.
instead of one,
Correct.
Right.
instead of two. Excuse
Correct.
me. So and he knew that there was a slight possibility his children were alive. So I think he made the right decision. I personally think that the wife was the one who was being incredibly and
Hmm.
I just wrong with rescuing the children, but don't
Right.
assume others have to do that with
Have the
you.
same motive,
Mm.
exactly. Well, I mean, the fact, like we just said, the fact that they wanted to open up the door for him, it's a child, and like there are
Right.
infected children out there too. Like what? And
Mm.
And
And
you
why
have,
do you know to knock on the door?
can't we somebody
how
go
can
on
you
the
know?
roof and look around? Like, why would you just blindly open it? That was the part that
Mm.
scared me.
Because he
And of
was a
course,
child.
people always going up and peeking out of the window slats. What? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not peeking.
No.
First of all, if there's this much of an opening in the slat, I'm filling that opening. Because even if they can get through, I just don't want to see them.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
they get to the quarantine place and he sees his kids, what did you think about his explanation to his children?
Why lie? I mean, okay, not why lie. Why tell such a story where, I mean, he probably was thinking they're never going to see her again, but you could
Right.
have made it so much more broad than that, where if she did come back, you weren't seen as such a villain in your kid's eyes. Like all he had to say was, we were stuck in a house, they got in, we got separated, and unfortunately, I don't think she made it. Done.
Right.
It put
Right.
it because that is what happened.
It is what
You
happened.
got separated. You didn't have to say I slid out the window, watched her get dragged as I shut the door. Like, no, you could just be very vague and say, I'm so sorry, kids. I am so happy you're here. I fought to get you here. Love you and keep it
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah.
I found that very bizarre as well. I was like, why are you going into unnecessary detail? And I don't know that if I was 12 or 13, I would even want to hear that level of detail.
Right.
Maybe
Mm,
Right.
good thing. So maybe you just tell them, like I said, we separated. I hope she's out there, but I don't know what happened to her. And that
Right.
also is the truth. You
yep.
separate.
Right.
Hope she's out. I
Right.
thought it was very weird that he did that. And then they kept showing the kids' faces as if the kids were already doubting him, which I
Yeah,
thought
of
was
course.
Mm,
Because didn't they say, did you try to save her or something like that? I think he
mm.
asked the question, but he's not afraid to admit fear. Look, I was afraid. I mean, it's really dangerous out there. And maybe
Mm,
had he said that to them, they would not have gone off, right? If he had
mm,
instilled in them, look, it is dangerous. Those, you know what I mean? Just kind of, because I don't think they knew, not being
yeah.
around. I don't think they had any.
well, they knew enough that they were all in a quarantine area. I will say that the kids there was a little bit of brattiness, but all kids today are
Yeah,
bratty.
yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Because they knew things were bad. They were bitching and moaning about the quarantine facilities, how dirty and disgusting they were. And then when the little boy did finally meet his mom and she had to get taken away, he's like, I want to see my mom. I'm like, are you paying attention to what's happening in this world? You're lucky you have a mom and a dad and a sister. Most people probably have lost their entire families, and they were
Mm,
just really kind of arrogant. And I didn't like that their response to their dad was, "Why didn't you save her?" He
Yeah.
shouldn't have
mm.
lied, and they shouldn't have questioned anything. You should be on your hands and knees thanking God that your dad is alive.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think if
do.
he didn't lie, they probably would have had a different reaction though. Because it probably, I mean, who knows what
Oh,
their family dynamic was
I-
before that, because it's kind of weird that the kids made it. So it looks like they already sent their kids away for summer camp or, school or whatever it was, because why weren't the kids with the parents when they were quarantine, not quarantine, in that house? They were already with the grandparents. So it's like you just wonder what the family dynamic was before it all happened, because they seemed happy to see their parents, but they didn't seem like they were, I don't know how to like they didn't I don't know how to explain it. They didn't seem like they were
they
the
didn't,
happiest.
to me, I know it's gonna sound crazy. They didn't seem
Mm.
traumatized enough. I'm like, you don't
Mm.
question
Right. I'm saying I don't
somebody
think they
alive,
realized the impact of what was
Yeah.
happening.
how they could not understand the impact when they haven't seen their parents in forever. They're in a camp where I'm sure everyone else's families have been decimated. Like they know it's real.
Oh, that's
Hmm.
right. They did say they were in a camp.
Yes, they
Yeah.
were.
I forgot. That's right. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And this is the first time they bring them back, and they had and
Right.
all they cried about was the how
Right.
dirty the place was. I'm like, where was the compassion for what your
Right.
father went through? But that's bratty
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They were pretty bratty.
It's all
They were
day.
pretty bratty.
Yeah.
Um, so what do you think when the mom comes? Oh, when they say to the first of all, I got to talk about the kids running away.
Yep.
Yes, every kid would want to run away.
Right.
No kid would make it. This is not COVID. They wouldn't. This isn't COVID where you can run down the street. This is
Right.
Gaza. Kids don't break out of military barracks
Right.
and
Hmm.
run
Right.
seen,
Right.
not shot, and then not even followed. It
Well,
took
they
Right.
those.
were followed.
No. Let me finish. When I say not followed, why, if they were followed, then when the kids hit the house, they should have been right behind them, and they weren't.
Oh, right,
It should
right.
have been no time because this is the military. They have helicopters, they have
Yep.
Hmm.
jets,
Yep.
they have tanks, and
Yep.
it took them 20 minutes to catch up to two kids running in empty streets in London. To me,
Yep.
that
Hmm.
completely unbelievable. It would never have happened. And
Nope.
you don't
Nope.
become a sniper in the army if you are not willing to kill your own mother. I'm going to
Yep.
be honest.
Mm.
Somebody
And
gets hard and decides not to kill those kids. At
yep.
least name them, shoot them in the leg. You're a
Yep.
sniper.
Yep.
It just was you are, right? It
But
Yeah.
and how important is
unbelievable
it really?
how much risk they put everyone in by doing what they did.
Right.
It
Yep. Yep.
that anybody would let them just escape like that. It's just not conceivable. And that's exactly what happened, right? They come back, they see the mother, which is great. I was happy to see her too. The first time I
Mm.
watched, everybody pretends like they don't notice something's up with her eye, but okay, I noticed it. We'll because I'd be like, hey, mama, what's up with your eye? But then they get back, and what do they do with her? And I love this movie, but to me, there was this movie was a little bit more Hollywood than the first one, and that might some people might like that. I liked it a little bit less because I felt like it was things were happening only to kind of make like further the story along. Because if you find patient zero, why is she chained up in a dark room by herself with nobody guarding her?
Well, I
How
don't know if they knew it was patient zero. It's like we were finding out as he was going in. So I don't even think they had a chance to lock her up first. But that should have been the first thing that they did before she even got a nice room and
well,
bathed.
yes, exactly. I thought maybe I do have the order wrong, but when the scientists looked through and realized she
Hmm.
was,
Hmm.
um, if she wasn't infected, why was she strapped to a gurney? If
She
you
wasn't
didn't,
affected. They knew. She knew. Well, she knew that she was a carrier.
that's
Not yet.
all my
Yeah,
point
she
is.
did because that's when Idris said, "Lock her up."
Yes,
Yeah, but that's after. Like, as they were having that conversation, that's when the dad was walking and swiping his card because it was the rumor that this girl had been there. I
Right.
think they locked her
Right.
down just because she was an outsider and she
but
was thrashing around. Where are my kids? So they probably locked her up, gave her some
I think they were
medicine because if you
suspicious.
notice, she wasn't moving.
I think they were suspicious.
But they didn't know that she was a carrier yet.
Well, maybe he didn't know, but the
no,
the female
Well, but
knew.
I mean, like, it all happened like they should have split scene it, had him walking in as they were
Oh, that would
finding
have been
out.
cool.
No, no, I think or what I'm maybe what I'm trying to say is this. I agree that she didn't convince the general about or didn't inform him, but she knew when she was interviewing the woman, and she saw her bite mark on her arm. This
Yeah.
is a.
Yeah.
She knew the
Yeah.
woman was infected, and her theory in her mind was he must be a carrier, asymptomatic carrier, right? That's what she's thinking.
Mm-mm.
You don't take that woman and stick her in, like, she needs to be in
Right.
the most secure facility. She is patient zero. She was nobody had access to her. She should have had 24-hour guards until you figured out what was going on.
Mm.
I think it was at all believable that they would just leave her like in that room strapped to a gurney with no security, even if they didn't know yet what she told the military. She knew, like, even
Yeah.
her, she should have put her somewhere special protected. That was just to me like so dumb. Like, what if it turned out that it didn't happen the way it happened, but let's just say she's in the room and
Sneezes.
no, somebody who's not infected walks in there, right?
That's
And
what
then
happened. Isn't that what happened?
no, her husband went in there and killed her.
Right. He was not infected, right?
Right, right.
Oh no, but I'm saying like he knew her, right? He went
Yes.
in and actually
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mhm.
nurse. You're in there, you're drawing blood. Nobody's telling you anything. Like, why does anybody have access to her? The husband wasn't high-ranking military. He wasn't a scientist. Nobody should have had keys. To me, it's just not believable.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Fort Knox. It'd be like me trying to walk in. You can't walk into an ICU floor anymore, right? You know, during COVID, remember how COVID you couldn't even go into the hospital? It just
Right.
wasn't
Right.
they
Right.
treated her callously when
Yeah.
even though they weren't 100% sure, they knew there was a probability. She was the first person they saw with bite marks. Her eye was fucked up, and they kept ignoring it. But
Yep.
even the way the scientist was asking her questions, the scientist knew. She
Right.
said to survive out
I
there.
think she knew too.
Of course, that's why
Mhm.
I'm having this conversation with you, and then I say, okay, why don't you just go in the room in there and sit down? No, I'm like, you're important. But anyway, because suddenly they were the kids were the most important people in the world, and the whole military had to protect the kids. It's like, how did we flip from we didn't care about the mother to now suddenly the kids are the most important kids? And there's nothing that would suggest that because the mother immune, the kids would have any level of immunity. I don't even know why they went down that path, but that's what
I
they
think it's because,
The
the
eye.
different eye colors, he thought maybe whatever genes the mom may have passed it on to the son at least
Mhm. They
because
cared about the
the
boy.
rare
Oh,
Right.
I
Yeah,
didn't
they
colors
didn't care about
know
the
rare.
sister.
that color eyes.
Yes,
Yeah.
right,
That makes
right. So they thought there was a possibility that he
And they
could
were right
be.
though.
they
Yeah,
were
they
as a
were
scientist
right.
would
Yeah,
Mhm.
have the scientist knows what's up.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So
it wasn't believable though that again, the military guy would be escorting them around and doing all that kind of stuff on his own. The
yeah,
whole
Mhm.
rogue soldier, I don't buy all that nonsense.
I did feel really
Kind
bad
of
though.
do. Sorry.
I did feel really bad though when the husband went in, he saw his wife, and then of course he got
Kissed
infected.
her.
And then I felt bad for her because she's like, why? I finally made it here and
Yup.
That's what
you gonna
it
kill
is.
me twice.
I felt, why would she be strapped to a gurney? She was vulnerable. She was helpless. When he turned, she couldn't even defend herself from her husband because she was
Right,
literally on the gurney.
right.
And then after he turned her into a zombie, she burned to a crisp because they kept her strapped into the thing and the place went
Right.
up in flames. I
Right. I
thought
mean,
she
she was dead anyway. He poked her eyes, so she was
Oh
pretty
yeah,
much
she
a
was
wrap.
gone.
It was a wrap for her.
but it was just but well, poking your
It
eye
was ironic.
and it's extremely painful though, right? That's not gonna necessarily kill you.
No, you could kill somebody that way.
Especially if you're stuck on your back.
Especially if you're infected with rage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt it was a rough.
But it was sad. I mean, she
It
died
was
like three
sad.
times in the movie.
Yup. Yeah, she made it so far too, and all she wanted to see were her kids.
Yeah.
I felt bad that that was her ending, but it seems like that's what they do. They did it in the first movie with, I forgot his name already. Hank? No. Hannah's dad.
right?
They did it
Yep.
in the first movie where it's like, oh, so far and to be taken out like that.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it was ironic that like her husband was the one that actually took her out, where
I think it had
if
to
he,
be.
it's really what he did in the first lie to his
Yep.
kids. So it's like he really did
That's what I'm
take her
saying.
out.
Yeah.
And
But you brought up something really interesting, Lena. You said, excuse me, that the dad, when he became infected, was just hell bent on finding his children, right?
mm,
And the rage, it was partly to kill them, partly to find them. I don't know. And you said maybe it was something about her saliva and them having some sort of relationship is why he was
mm,
adamant about finding them. Like
mm.
it's just, I don't know
Because he
why, but he was
survived
adamant
everything,
about finding
everything.
them.
And he kept finding them too. It was
I
just very interesting.
yeah, I didn't that there were some things that I wasn't buying. Oh, kids escaping, I didn't buy. Again, it didn't ruin the movie for me. Still loved it. The fact that he could find them among hundreds of thousands of people made no sense to me. He
Mm,
had no idea where they were going,
Yeah,
and then somehow found them in the tunnels. None of that made sense, but it made for good movie
of
making.
course it did.
mm,
The father going after the son was one of those extremely scary scenes, but it just to me wasn't very believable. And why would he be the only zombie that has the gift of being able to find their family
Right,
members?
right.
Everybody would be their family members. So I didn't buy any of
mm.
that. But again, it didn't.
So,
It still one of the best
oh
zombie
yeah,
movies.
yeah. I mean, when he
All
when
of
he
that.
became infected and started going through the hospital or the barracks or wherever they were, and like they just the way they were showing it, it was very erratic. You know what I mean? It was
When
just
they
like fast and
quarantined them and the
oh
lights went
man.
out and he saw him, oh, yeah. See, one, you wouldn't have locked me in that room. I'd rather take my chances out
Oh,
in open space with them. You're not confining me in a place where if someone sneezes, everyone who gets it, no, no,
and that's what
no,
happens with the military. You're not getting out. They're confining you.
no, because I'm
That's the only
hiding.
way to contain things. You got to
I'm
confine
hiding.
people.
Nope,
If you're
nope.
hiding, you're able to hide, then we're all gonna die, right? Because it needs to be being able to two kids being able to escape a military base. No.
Right.
Um, but I that was definitely the most
Oh
terrifying,
my God.
my worst nightmare
Oh
in
God.
general.
hmm Just the fact that he was crawling on top of them, like trying to get out.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it was
And how quickly they
creepy.
turned again. Like, I don't even think it was 12 seconds this
No,
time. They got bit and then they turned. Like in this,
hmm
it was just,
Yep.
oy
this
vey.
he kissed his wife, and as he was kissing her, he turned.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And
It's
I think being in this big quarantine place and you hear chaos in the corner and it's dark and you don't know what's going on, but you know it might be coming towards you and there's nowhere to run.
oh,
The most terrifying thing.
it really
Yep.
was. And he was lucky that he was little, right? That he could climb on everyone and make it up there. I'm shocked no one else made it up there, but
I would have.
excuse me. I mean, he was lucky that he was, the right height and, weight
Yep.
to do that because other adults might not have been able to get up there,
Mm,
stepping on each other.
I think he was lucky he was British. Again, I think if that happened,
It's the accent.
we'd all be stomped, right? There'd be a stampede and all of us would, because that's what happens, right? Even you
Right.
remember the nightclub fire, people, they stampede towards the door. So many people die like
Right.
that.
Right. Right.
Kids
Right.
are most vulnerable because they're the first ones to get knocked down. But yeah, that scene to this day gives me heartburn. I couldn't even.
Yep. That was really tough. That was like,
mm,
oh my God. Because you're right. You could hear it. First of all, what's coming because you just saw
Yeah.
it out there and you see him come in and attack that guy. Now that guy and your dad are both chasing you and you're making your way through tons of people. You're hip high to everything. You know what I mean? You're making your way through and then and you're trying to warn people. No one's listening because everyone is afraid. You don't turn
mm,
out the lights on 3,000 people in a room. You're bound to have, even if there wasn't a pandemic, you know what I mean? Something would have happened in
People would
that
stamp.
room.
It would be stampede. People
Exactly.
would absolutely panic, and they
Yes,
would
they would have panicked.
mob the doors and
Yeah. Yep.
crushed.
Yep.
Because I remember when
And they do that on Black Friday. And there's no reason. So
That's what I'm talking about. That's why I was like, that they're lucky they're brave. That would not eat me.
Mhm.
Um,
It's
so
crazy.
okay, now they realize it's code red. And to me, I felt like the military was not very prepared for that. I don't understand why, because that's their sole job. And then they're employing snipers to shoot the infected, knowing there's thousands upon thousands. Where's the
And you
logic?
can't tell.
But where
Mm,
was the logic, even if you could? How many bullets do you think you have in that rifle?
right.
What's wrong?
Right, right. Yeah, that I don't think they had enough military anyway. I felt like there were more civilian than military, and it probably shouldn't have been like that. It just felt, except for those who were safe in that room, right? There weren't many on the ground, if you think about it, right? They had maybe
Mm-hmm.
what, 10 spotters, 5 spotters, and the guy in the
Mm-hmm.
helicopter. And that's
I
it.
Yeah, one helicopter.
around because I mean they said it was a quarantined military section, but maybe that's why they decided that they only needed two on a roof to try to deal with an infection outbreak. But I just didn't think it was realistically, and let's be honest, politically they would have killed everybody. You have
Oh,
to
of
do
course. Mhm.
it. It
Yeah.
was you have to. It's like
Which,
okay,
yeah, which is where they started to go at the end anyway. He was just
Yep.
like, shut it down.
yes, it
Just
is.
go kill everybody.
And they should have, back to I. It's weird to me. Again, I don't know. I didn't. I found the military to be pretty incompetent in this movie.
Mm,
Like the first one, like they're
mm,
not going to you. Yes, they're maybe a little bit more organized, but they're not going to save you at the end of the day. They made so many dumb decisions. I just was like, yeah,
right.
I prefer to just be quarantine myself in the countryside by myself because they're not.
Right, right, right,
Yep.
right, exactly.
Yep.
And
But I
then
will
so then,
say, oh, sorry.
oh, no, no,
No, because I was gonna say exactly what you were saying.
what Nunya was saying.
No, what you were about to start saying is what I was gonna say.
Oh, I was moving on to,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
and then of course he kind of gets out and they make it to these new group of people that are in, I don't know, a warehouse or whatever on the
Mm-hmm.
place. And then they decide, okay, this one guy decides he's going to break protocol and go with them because he knows what's up. He's like, it's the military. Our job is to kill. You know what I mean? You don't have a way out. And so they decide, okay, well, we're going to try to scale the walls or whatever and make our
Mm-hmm.
way out. And of course, the little boy sees his dad again, which is,
I think a
again,
vision. I
how
think that
did
was a vision.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. And then they have to kind of make it. And of course, one of them gets shot. Now, this is what I don't get, right? There's this constant threat of all these people coming after you, and you go and you sit around the carousel. Like I'd be tired too, but trust me, I don't think I would stop. I would constantly be
Mm-mm.
moving. You go
Mm-hmm.
through these open gates, right? And you don't think to turn around and shut the gate. Like these people are coming after you. I mean, there's some things that they did I probably would not have done. I think I would have constantly continued to move, like just
Mm.
keep moving.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think they were
save the boy.
lucky.
I'm saving myself. If he gets saved, he's lucky, but I'm saving myself.
I don't know. I mean, it makes you really think, like, if you had the chance to really help the world
Yeah,
and
no.
you know that there's a cure, I think I would do my best to try to get that child. Now, am I going to be sacrificing my life for the kid? I I think I would have to be in the heat of the moment. If it was my kid, probably. But
Right.
if it was like a random kid, I'm going to try really hard because that's a huge thing. Like you would be saving generations. Like it wouldn't, at a certain point, it wouldn't be just about me. Right. That's what I meant. Yes. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. Like I feel like I really would have a hard time thinking about it, but I mean, it would be a split second decision of I don't know. I may do it, I may not, but I would be thinking about it the whole time we're traveling as, Selena, Lena, am I really able to sacrifice myself for the greater good? I don't know. I don't know. I think I would hope.
I mean, if I were military, yes, I would do that because that's kind of what you're trained to do. You're
Right.
willing to sacrifice. As a civilian, I
Mm,
will do my best to help you. But if it
hmm
came to, your dad chasing you down in the tunnel and me getting away, bye. Like I'm not going back.
Didn't understand. I would hope that we would all try if we have to make sacrifices to save everyone. But that's the part that didn't make sense, was why didn't the military do that? Why didn't the government do that? Why didn't anyone else do that except for the one scientist and one soldier? And so that's maybe if the evidence was more upfront, if it was more obvious. Because if you just tell me, listen, I think this person has a cure, but I don't know any, and you're off by yourself, and well, why are you telling me? Why aren't you calling, the presidents from around the world? Like, who's in charge? Why are you telling me? Why are we running through back alleys? Because it would seem like the whole world would come in and help you save this child. What, phones don't work anymore? That part just was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, did they have the time though? Because it all happened so quickly, where she quickly said over the walkie-talkie, "We need these two kids, save the kids, please save the kids." And then all of a sudden, all the guards were pretty much gone
Pretty
because they
much. They
got
didn't have enough.
taken out. Yeah, the one helicopter guy and the one guard. And then that military guy who said code red wasn't listening to the doctor because he didn't care. So it's like they probably just brushed it off and were like, he's my boss, not this doctor. Where they were the ones, trying to actually save the child. I mean, I'm sure the sister could have come along, but they were really trying to save the boy.
Do
Then
you
this goes
guys know,
back.
do you guys know what happened to those people that were in that room? The
Which
commander and
one?
his people, because they were in the same place that they blew up, right? So do we know what happened to them?
I mean, if realistically they would have taken a helicopter out of it. I don't know what happened in the movie, but I know in real life they wouldn't have died.
Mhm. I
This kind
think
of
they probably took the helicopter.
this kind of goes back to um the level of preparedness, because
Hmm.
there she didn't have time to tell everybody, but then there's no mechanism between you and the soldier to communicate. The soldier was talking to the other soldier 24/7, right?
Well,
Hmm.
Why did you have to go through the London Tube, right, down 8 flights of escalator, and then this part was not believable to me either. Instead you're the only one with any light, and you let the kids go first, so
Thank
you're
you.
at the back of their heads, and you're yelling. She was yelling directions the whole time. I'm falling out the street because he just woke up.
and
She
scaring them. No, don't move. Jump,
Yeah,
run,
don't
left
laugh.
foot.
All the kids are like, I was like,
Yeah.
how? And that goes back to, what did you not ever think you might have cargo, as they call it? Did you not have any protocol? You have no way of reaching out to anyone to get you help? It just was not believable. But yeah, if I was those kids, honestly, at that point, I would have snatched that rifle out of her hands and run. Like, she was just holding back. She was not
Mm-hmm.
used. Then, of course, she dies.
Well, yeah.
Fine with
I
that.
would have stayed with the military guy
Well,
because
you
his friend
couldn't.
was a helicopter guy who absolutely loved. I thought he was so funny. I would have stuck with him like white on rice, like it's you and me, buddy.
Yeah. But I mean, you after a while you couldn't because they sacrificed. That like keeps going with the different ways that they kept trying to contain it with like the smoke, which I
Mhm.
thought was very interesting
Then you
that
mean
you
the
could
poisonous
find.
gas? Yeah.
Yeah, that you could have that. And
Oh
then they
yeah.
did the
Oh yeah.
fire, they did the bombs, they did a lot of different things. And then
Try to
he
keep
just
it
keeps
from,
looking at
yeah.
the videos and they're all just running away. He's like, all right, phase two, I guess. It was
Which,
interesting.
yeah, I feel like what they tried is what you would try. We've been doing in wars, for
Yeah.
hundreds.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all of those things. But at this
Yep.
point, yeah, a plan B, right? You already know you need that's not a plan you put in place. That's what the military does, right? We gas people, we bomb people, we start fires. Where was your outbreak plan?
That was it.
Oh, and what kind of gas was it? What kind of gas was it that this was protecting you?
I was thinking
In
the
the
same
car, I
thing.
know. Shut the
Well, even when
vent.
he got out and
Shut the
pushed,
vent.
but then why light him up? They knew like the zombies are pushing the car. Like, come on.
I
Like that was
know.
just weird that they were
But
like, nah.
But I
This is
think
this used to be
their
my
mission,
captain. Light him up.
their direction was to kill everybody regardless. So they
Yeah,
didn't
but
care
he's
that he
in
was
an army
military. They
uniform.
didn't care.
That's
And
weird.
no, it's not weird.
That's what happens.
But
They
his
don't know.
other friend was willing to sacrifice and come pick him up at the stadium. But you're telling me his other friend is like, oh, you know what? I know it's you, but you're pushing a car. Maybe not help us because you're supposed to be with us with the gas masks, but let me just light you up. It was just weird how quick they were like, yeah, oh, I
Yeah,
see that you're in
great.
the military, and oh, you used to be my best friend.
Yep, that's the way it works.
Like, that is exactly, it has to work that way. It has to work that way because if
Yep.
people go rogue and join the other side, you're not like, well, I want to still save you and bring you back.
I know,
But
but the other side was their main goal is to save humanity. So it's like I could get it if they were harboring an infected person, but none of them were infected.
But I don't think
every
they knew that.
right, no, they didn't
But they
know
would
that.
have found it out. Because why else would the military be helping him? Like, you
They're
know?
not trying to find
Well,
out. It's
I
to
don't
I,
know.
eradicate. That's it.
yeah, this goes back to why can't they communicate? Why didn't the
Yeah,
instead of talking to the one other soldier,
Right,
this
right,
true.
this is the most important thing happening in the entire
right.
planet. 8
That's
billion
true.
people. Why are you having these one-off conversations? That goes back to my
Mm.
point of no communication, no plan B. The military completely failed them,
Yep.
which
Yep.
us in Britain don't rely on the US's military. Why were we over there running the shots? We don't know nothing about your country. And, I'm sure we had our own things over here. And then we don't even escalate this dialogue to somewhere somebody powerful is making a call and that person never was involved. It just kept being one-off dialogues between the people and it just made no sense to me. I still love all this said,
Mm-hmm.
still the best. Still
100%. And
the
then
best.
how about when they were like, and I keep talking about the carousel because they ran to the carousel and then they have the guy, the helicopter guy, meet me here. You need to be there. And he's like, you dish those people. I'm not taking them.
Mm.
But he gets over there and all these infected start running and the one guy jumps on the helicopter. It's like, I mean, maybe I would have tried that too. I don't know. But he was like, yeah, no, you're gonna die along with everybody else. And he just kind of chops them
Fell
all
off.
up.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, again, that's what they had to do.
Yep.
Made sense to me. One thing I wrote here, and I had to go back to this when the kids were running around, they couldn't find them. Somebody went over, the military went over. I want to say the loudspeaker, but they broadcast.
Yeah.
There's a Ebola for a 12-year-old boy named Andy, and at that moment, I had to chuckle because I was like, that would never happen.
They had a what?
It was a be on the lookout. They call him Ebola.
Oh, got
Be on
it.
the lookout for a 12-year-old boy named Andy. I'm like, there's only one 12-year-old boy in the planet running through the streets of London at some point. If you call him Billy and he says, my name's not Billy, if you call him Andy, just kill him. Like, what are we talking about? Why does it matter that he's named Andy? I just thought that was so
Mm.
weird. And his name is Andy, guys. It's like,
Yeah.
When the girl goes in, I'm going to back up a little bit. When the girl goes into the store, right? They just escaped and they go into the store and she sees a dead person there and she gets the keys. You would
Mm,
think that at that point she'd be like, okay, there's like real dead people. Like it's not a joke. They're real dead
mm.
people. And so she's like, no, Andy, we'll get your picture, Andy. And then they go and he jumps on the trampoline and makes all the noise in the world.
That's kids.
That's those kids. And then, when my mom comes out and I think it's a cat and I see her, yes, I'd be happy. But if she's like squeezing me too tight, I think I'd be like, okay, something's not right. I'm not even
I
sure I
don't
would
think I
hug
would
her
have hugged
because
her.
I'd be afraid. I'd
No,
be like, ooh, can we hug
from a
outside with
distance.
everybody else around?
Yeah.
I've gone to the house in the first place.
Well,
No.
yeah, I mean, that's,
If I went to the house, I wouldn't have walked around with it being all quiet like that. I can see like wanting to maybe see your door and kind of be nostalgic, maybe even peek the front door, but I wouldn't have been all up in there up the steps. Not when you know
jumping on
what.
the trampoline. How much did you miss a trampoline? I mean, come on.
I don't get it either. I felt like those kids were
It's been
all
six months.
exactly. They thought summer camp. It's like this shit is
Mm,
real.
Right.
Just because the military says that it's cleared doesn't mean it's cleared. And you obviously saw that because that's why the wife was there. Like that's why again it would never have happened that those kids would have gotten away, especially when they were spotted before they even left the
He
compound.
definitely says, "Oh, we have some runaways," and that's
Yeah, we
when
got
they knew the
away.
kids follow them. Mhm.
Yeah, ha 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 ha. And they're off walking, taking time, walking
Yep,
through the
yep.
military knows. They
Picking
know the
up pizza on the street. Come on.
But I mean, realistically, they got away. Like I mean, yes, they could have just sniped him on the spot, but if you want to escape a great place, have at it. My thing would be if they snuck back in and made it in and you didn't kill them. Because if you want to escape, I mean, that's weird. That's probably why he was like, oh, kids, like, why are you escaping? But if they made it out, had their fun, and tried to come back, that's where I would be more concerned if they didn't shoot them on sight.
I think the
That's what
rule
I thought they let.
you don't leave the quarantine. Everybody knew that. What
Right. But a couple kids, I'm not gonna shoot. I'd be looking at the kids. I probably would like say, we see you, like type of thing. But I would be like, well, that's unfortunate for those kids. Anyone that leaves, that's unfortunate for you. You're not coming back in. It's a
But maybe
one-way
they
thing.
also know that the
what if
dad would then get involved, right?
well, but then what
Mm.
if but that's the assumption. Like let's say these kids go out. You don't know what these two kids are, but they go out and whatever they get involved in, maybe creates another crisis outside of the quarantine area, right? So now the military has to respond to that. Like it
Mm.
just the military is not going to let you off the base. It's not like, oh, okay, you don't want to be here, you can go, just don't come back. You're not leaving. They are controlling everybody because they need to monitor people. They're not going to let people be
Mm.
wandering the streets. It just wasn't believable. It would never happen. But again, the movie's great. um, anything else?
Yeah, how about when they get into the tunnel, right? So they've gone down this, I don't know, subway,
Subway.
whatever, and they lost the scientist, and it's just the
Hmm.
girl and the boy now, and the dad finds the boy again,
Hmm.
and he bites him. He doesn't kill him like he did the wife, but he bites the son.
See, I'm telling
And
you.
I mean, I guess the son's not really infected, but the daughter, the sister says, no matter what, we stick together no matter what. You think you
Hmm.
would stick with your brother?
Yes, because
I
the
would.
people turned in seconds. If the boy hadn't turned in 3 seconds, he's fine.
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time, they're also kids. So she probably would go down with the ship, you know,
But true.
because she's
I wouldn't
going
want to
to.
be
Like,
alone. I'd be
yeah,
like,
like
bite
I
me.
mean,
Look, I
yeah,
don't
I don't think I'd be asking to bite me. I would just watch him and I might chain you up, but yeah, we're gonna stick together, you know. But I'm telling you, it goes back to him only biting his son. I'm telling you, it's like whatever
Yeah,
was hardwired in his head,
that's
his
true.
goal was to just, it's like they were starting the new species because the mom passed whatever her genes on to him. And it's like he knew that he's the other one that could have this dominant trait to make some sort of other, I don't know. I know I'm reading very far into it, but it's just weird that he only bit
Right,
him and left.
right,
Like he
right. He
didn't do
didn't
that
kill him
to
like he did the wife.
anything else.
Yeah.
And he
Fine.
didn't attack the sister.
It was just weird that the father could find the kids in general.
Well, the
Mm.
sister wasn't, he didn't see the sister. I think that's why he didn't attack her
Yeah, she was
She
because,
all.
did. Well, she shot him.
oh,
Like,
that's
you know,
right.
That's how
That's
she shot.
right.
She
I
was looking
yeah,
yeah,
as he was getting the brother.
that's right.
yeah.
That's right. Yeah, she did.
And
So
he had the split memory too, because when she yelled out his name, he looked up and had the flashback of his wife. So I'm telling you, it's something about how he got infected that he
Yeah, I think yeah.
psychologically like was, I mean, they say that you can have your sixth sense with your kids where like if I'm sick, like someone else out there knows it type of thing. Like I think something like that was happening because it's just, or they just, had to put the plot going along. But I think that something in that bite, something in their chemistry is why
Mhm,
he was kind of
mhm.
fixated on the son trying to get there.
I believe that. I just
Yeah,
again
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
don't believe that he would have found his son.
No, there's no way. I mean, they
Yeah,
didn't make it far. If you think about how small London is and where they went to, they didn't make it that far. Like, if you're thinking about the US, where you could probably make it some distance, But like in London, it's like,
But you can go outside of the city of London. You can go into the suburbs. We're not talking. You're comparing the U.S. to a city. It'd be like saying London. I don't know how London compares to like New York City, but you know. But I would say, what I was thinking when you asked about what would the girl do, I would say because at that point you've lost your mother, your father,
Yeah.
that the
Yeah.
world is just going to be horrible. I was already saying to somebody who was watching it with me last night, at that point in the movie, I was like, forget about it. Just infect me.
That's it.
I'm tired of being chased. I want like you run from me. How about that? I would have given up. I'd be like, yeah, just I want to be on the
That's it.
on the
I'm with
winning
you.
side.
I'm with you.
Can I change teams, please?
I think I would try really like I mean I think if the brother actually turned, I don't know what I would do. I probably would turn into Selena and just go crazy and be like, oh, horrible. But I don't know. I feel like I would really try. But the fact that her brother didn't turn is why they still went to the field.
Well, let's talk about that, right? So they get to the
Mm,
field. It's just the two of us. All right, come
hmm
on, get on. They get in the
hmm
helicopter.
Yeah.
Does he turn?
No.
I don't think so. I think he accidentally probably sneezed and got the pilot,
Because
because
the plane
it's
crashed.
mhm.
Right. So I'm saying, did he turn?
I
Oh, well
don't
then,
think I think the pilot turned.
well, but there's, wait a minute.
And maybe the sister?
When you say turned, he is infected. He was symptomatic, like his mother.
Hmm
Yes.
Yes. So no, I think that he's exactly like his mother. He's asymptomatic
Right.
spreader.
So, right. So the question is in the plane, to Lena's point, did he sneeze and infect the sister and the pilot? And that's why the plane crashed?
I think so. Because
Probably.
if you see in the last scene when they're running in France now,
Yeah.
the first person that runs out kind of looks like the girl, but there's no son there.
Oh,
Like
I'll
when
have
you
to go
see them
back
like
and watch
running,
that.
it looks like the girl, but you
Okay.
don't see her again. So then you're like, maybe. But you also don't see the guy, but who
Yep.
knows? They could have
Yep.
pummeled him instead of actually,
Yep.
you know. But it's very interesting that they're in France because it makes you think, okay, well, how far did this infection go? Because the last thing they hear is the French, well, with the French accent saying, help us, help us. So were they not infected in France or were they I don't know. It was just very interesting, the ending, because it makes you think that only the UK was hit. It was just weird.
Yeah, that's I think the week that again I can't understand, which is why was there no cooperative effort to contain this, and if there was, where was everyone else?
Hmm
They had already been quarantined. Well, when the kids were quarantined, I thought they were already quarantined in France. I thought they had come back from France. I thought that very last scene, I have to go back and look at it, where was, because it even said 28 days later, didn't it say it at the bottom? So
hmm
that was just, it was the ending of the movie, but it was the beginning of the movie, if that makes any sense. It was like a clip from the beginning, how it all started.
Mm.
And the only I
Ah,
assumed it was a global epidemic because again, why is the US there?
mm,
Flying,
Right, because it should have been happening in the US too.
right.
it happening in the US. And if not, get your butt over here and just make sure we're safe. I hate to be like
Exactly.
that.
Well, that's
Then
why they sent a small team,
put your mask on first before you help the person beside you.
Hello.
which is
Hello.
not what Americans do, but
Exactly. But so that part was really weird. But you guys
mm.
have heard that they have green lighted 28 years later, not
Oh,
months.
Right, right,
wait.
right.
Kill Murphy
Now,
is
but I heard,
he's
now
a
I'm not
god.
sure if it's actually going to be a new movie or if it's going to be an enhancement of the first one. So I'm not sure, but that's what I read.
It
No, no,
can't. It has to be. If they're doing 28 years later, it has to be.
he's already talked about it. It's a new movie.
Oh, I
Yeah,
cannot wait.
I
I heard
can't
they got
wait.
the green light in
He's going
January
back.
2024.
Yeah, when you say, yeah, it's called 28 years later, so it's definitely a new
Right.
movie.
Mhm.
It's not clear whether he'll be starring in it. He's definitely going to be one of the executive directors, though. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring back, but it'll be so interesting to see this now. I can tell you though, I really, really, really enjoyed going back and watching these again now that we had gone through COVID, because you definitely see things, I think, a lot differently than, when the first time you see it, you're just so naive, like, yeah, this ain't gonna happen. I ain't gotta worry about this. Now I'm like, yeah, stuff can happen. It's gonna happen. It's just a
What
matter
I
of time.
wouldn't want to see though in 28 days, years later, is a bunch of CGI. Because I think for me, that would just kind of, I don't know where they will go with it. But if it's a bunch of CGI, for me, I think it would kind of take away from the
The whole feel of it.
yeah, because
Mhm.
I think it's really authentic now. And if you just throw in a bunch of CGI, it's just going to be almost fake. And I really, because they've done such a great job already. We are here today in 2024 talking about these movies for a reason. So I really wouldn't want it to just be straight CGI. I just think it would just take away from.
I don't
I
think it would.
Cillian wouldn't do it if it was CGI, right? And
Mhm.
again, I like that it's the same. There's continuity between Danny being in 1, 2, 3, Cillian. They love this franchise as much as we do, and they don't
Mhm.
want to compete with World War Z, right? I mean, they want it to be this kind of authentic
Right.
um, infection. So, and I just
Mhm.
don't think they put his name on something that wasn't like that. So I have complete faith and trust that there won't be CGI. It'll
Mhm.
be very interesting to see though, because my guess is this is about now, if we're 28 years in the future, either the infected have begun to reproduce
Right.
or come to, and so maybe it's going to be a battle between the infected and the uninfected, but the infected might have their own governments. Like it's got to be something on that level, because
Sure.
what happened in 28 years? You can't be
Right.
doing
Right. Right.
Mhm.
It'll be very
Right.
interesting. Danny Boyle said that they have an excellent, so they already they've had the idea for the third one for a while, but
I'm
whoever
sure.
was working on the idea, the director or I don't know who was committed to doing some series for, I think it was HBO or one of those things. So once they were finished up with that,
Mm,
and I believe they got Cillian on board based on the direction the movie's going in. And Danny Boyd is just not a Hollywood sellout. All of his movies, he did Slum Lord Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire.
Millionaire.
Okay.
Yeah, all of his films, like he's not the type that's going to go the easy way. Now, of
Right.
course, the
Right.
studios might try to push that on them, but I don't
Right.
think.
Mhm.
Right.
And also British, right? Like we said, they don't do blockbusters like
Right.
America.
Right.
Mhm.
All
Right.
right.
I'm
So you guys want to
excited.
score it? You guys want to score it?
I'm gonna give it a 4 point. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Mm.
And I'm
I
gonna
would
take
agree. Yeah.
it a 4 out of 5. Actually, I'm lying. So I'm
Oh,
gonna give
just
it
kidding.
4 out of 5. I'm sorry. I'm gonna take off a point only because I did feel like this one was trying to be slightly more Hollywood, and that took away from it a little bit. So it made it. I felt like stretching reality a little bit too much to make it more entertaining. But still, a 4 out of 5 for me is like, that doesn't happen. So that's a high score.
What do you think, Lena?
And I love it.
I would say a 4.5. I like that one. I mean, I see, and that's why I like it more because it has that more Hollywood feel. I like that because it just, I don't know. The other one just seemed older, even though the movies weren't that far off. But I'm so excited for this new one. Just with everything that they have in the year we're in, I think they could make it amazing. But I
Yeah.
would say 4.5. Loved it. Loved it. Watch it
Okay.
every day.
And I will give this one a 4.7. I did like the first one better, slightly better, because I think it was
Interesting.
just so raw and so new. But honestly, I love these. And like I said, I will continue to watch them. And if I'm fortunate enough to get 28 years, I will add that and watch the three of them over and over again. So I don't know if we want to talk about comparisons or if
I
okay.
mean, we already did.
Okay.
We and by
Yeah.
giving we essentially compared them.
Okay.
Mm.
You know, I also have a slight preference for the first one over the second one, but me there's no point for me to contrast them other than what I already said about the second one being slightly more Hollywood, because they're both phenomenal movies, and I can see the third one. So, and I think Lena made it very clear which one she has a preference for, unless you, Whaley, want to compare them. But I think you've already told us you prefer the first one as well.
Oh, yeah, I definitely do prefer I mean, I love them both. Again, I love them both. I cannot wait to see the third one. Like, I literally cannot wait for that to come out. Did they say anytime when? Or,
Probably next year.
yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe
Yeah.
probably on 25, because I don't even know if they've started filming. So it'll
Yeah.
probably be like 25 or 2026.
Oh,
It'll
gosh,
probably be
I
a
hope it's
summer, you
25.
know.
I
Yeah.
hope it's 25. I just can't wait. So yeah, I mean, I didn't know if there were other things you guys wanted to compare, but like I said, I love them both. I loved all the acting. I loved everything about these movies. And I would highly recommend it to anyone who has not seen them.
Yep.
Agreed. And if you are into zombie movies, a couple of the ones you might want to consider. Dawn of the Dead is amazing. Train to Busan is amazing. World War Z is amazing. Alone is amazing. And there's a couple others I can't think of off the top of my head, but
The Rex, is it zombie? Oh, the Rex series is really good. It's a Spanish one.
Oh yeah, that is
That
good.
whole series is amazing.
oh,
That is good.
the Spanish one is my favorite though.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
those
Yeah,
are
when they're
good
in the
too.
hotel. Yep.
Yep,
Those are
yep.
great ones to watch.
There are
Yes.
tons. There are
Oh,
tons. So
good. I'm
do we
sorry.
want to pick one or do we want to take it offline? Because we can do one of the Rex.
I would say we go offline because
Okay.
Sunchild doesn't like zombie movies to begin with, which is why we
Okay.
were two together. So I would say let's just make sure people, let's just make sure people are motivated to show up, in other words.
All right. All right, then I guess we'll end it here. My name is Whaley Hollow. There's Nanya and the lovely Lena. Thank you for joining us today. We hope to see you again. You guys, this has been such a great conversation. I look forward to the next one. All right, guys, have a good one. Bye.
Lena, join us again.
Please do.
I know this was fun.
Bye, guys.
Absolutely. Bye.